So I have been thinking recently, right? And I was sitting there smoking my cigarette, looking like a Slavic man in his mid 40s, wondering about life, sipping that Red Bull, and I was thinking to myself, what does it mean to actually cheat? What is fair? What is balanced, right? And we all know how controller players are like allowed to be separated from mouse and keyboard players. Unless, of course, you play on PC. But, listen to me now. I think there is a counter argument to say that the most people I lose to are controller players. I am a mouse and keyboard player full time, basically. I don't use controller anymore. I used to when I was back on the good old PlayStation 4, but that's no more. And there's a common trend with all these controller players. I'm not accusing any of these guys to be using a Zim or anything like that, but I lose always to the same weapon. You wanna know what these weapons are? Arbalest and lorentz. And you wanna know something? It's impossible to fight it. Because when you have a gun that shoots like a sniper, but it has the aim assist of a fusion rifle bolt, it will basically hit at every single point. I've used arbalest myself in PvP. It's insane. I've used lorentz in PvP. It's insane. And you have a lot of these players. If you saw my video, right, you would see me blocking these three players because they're using lorentz, arbalest, and you want to know something else? I think a lot of these people use Zim. I know that's a ball statement to come out with, right? But when you think about it, they're always the same type of players. They're doing a carry and they have an arbalest equipped or a lorentz. It's the same people. It's not the same people, but it's the same type of people. They are always the same loadout. And you know, when I know something that's frustrating for a player that plays on a console that's allowed with everybody, it's I want to only play mouse and keyboard players without any accessibilities. I want to see the difference then. Because, let's put it like this. I basically have a disability in my left eye where I basically don't see anything. It's after a birth defect, but in my right eye I see fully clear, so when I try to angle my cursor, it goes always slightly to the right more. So I have to adjust with that. I don't use any additional aim assist or anything like that, because that's bullshit. But using a controller is 10 times easier for me because I can be lazy. I don't have to worry about aiming perfectly. I don't have to worry about this and that. Same with lorentz. I did a challenge this week, which was also, I want to see how many people that was using lorentz against me. So I blocked every single person. You want to know how many people I've blocked this week? I've blocked almost 50 people, and I've barely played 100 games. That means there's been at least half of those games on average where one person was using it. That's a lot of players. And if you wonder what a Zim does, I can basically put the link to Across's video. It's very good to listen to if you're wondering. If you have been living under a rock, you don't know what this is, but if you have been paying attention to at least Twitter, you'll have full fucking clearance of what this shit is. Sure, people with disability needs something. I'm not saying they have to have something, but they're allowed to, basically. But instead of it being a hardware, it should be a software so it can be controlled, you know? Because the problem about these hardwares that people are using is that basically it's undetectable. So you can be using this as much as you want and you will never get a ban. This works for console, this works for PC, and a good example of this is Dr. Lupo was using this in Destiny 1. They promoted him, Bungie themselves, and he was using it throughout most of Destiny 1. I didn't pay attention to him too much, but he basically got aim assist on mouse and keyboard, which should be not okay, basically. And this is a common trend on mouse and keyboard as well, where people use aim assist as an advantage. This is the thing that I want. I want a PC only playlist where there's only mouse and keyboard users without any extensional hardware, basically. So it's a lot more controlled, but I mean, of course, this is a lot demanding for a PC player. 90% of the player base uses a controller anyway, so why does that matter? And if you don't play on PC, this is not a joke. Most PC players uses a controller. More than average, at least in PvP. And then more than average on PC uses a mouse and keyboard in PvE. It's a weird combo. But it's like every time I see a console symbol in my lobby, I am expecting a lorentz, because that's what I'm getting every time I match them. And the reason increasing flinch on arbalest and lorentz won't actually help it is because of how strong the aim assist on it. Because on PC we don't really have aim assist that helps you stick onto people. We have aim assist that lets you basically bullet bend. That's the same thing on console as well, but we only have one of the two, you know. You have aim assist that sticks and you have aim assist that bends. Now, a lot of the shit I'm saying also has a contribution to desync from console to Steam. A lot of this shit I'm also saying is aim assist is unfair in any advantage. I don't care. Sure, it helps controller players hit their shots easier, which is fair in a controller environment, but it's not fair in a mouse and keyboard environment. Same way that mouse and keyboards shouldn't be allowed in controller lobbies. It's unfair. Both sides have an unfair advantage, and how much you try to defend either side, it's just a fact on both of them. Which is why it's annoying that Bungie is so one-sided with console or controller. But I mean, I get why they're so one-sided, because most players, like I said, play on controller. So when mouse and keyboard gets added to a game that's supposed to be on controller, a lot of shit happens. That's why they balance weapons differently compared to controller and mouse and keyboard. And I'm not saying that it's completely busted that console players can play with controller players, but I think it should either be open for everyone or you can choose. It's not okay that it's only one-sided. A lot of platforms do this. I know Fortnite, if you use a controller, right, you're not allowed to use mouse and keyboard throughout that game. You want to know why? Because you only get matched with controller players. If you use mouse and keyboard, I'm not too sure about that one, but I know at least when I played Fortnite back in the day, when I moved to PC, that was at least the option I had. Either it was mouse and keyboard or it was controller. Same with on console. If you used mouse and keyboard, you couldn't use controller. But at least you were locked behind a barrier where you could only match controller players. And I think it should be like Halo as well. You could either match controller or you could match mouse and keyboard. They allow you to choose what type of platform you want to play against and what type of players. But this also allows Destiny, if they go in this direction, to add mouse and keyboard to console. Because if you use that, then people on console can match PC players, and PC players can match console players without any issue. Because if both of them are using the same devices, then that's not a problem. As long as no Zims are in the picture, of course. But after all the unraveling on how many people who uses things like net manipulation, people uses Zims, starting to get unraveled, we see now how unfair the PvP scene, for example, is actually. I know plenty of people who use net manipulation to have an unfair advantage before it was not allowed, basically. And I don't know anyone personally, at least they've not said anything that they use a Zim or anything like that to get an unfair advantage. But I know there's a lot of players who does, because those little rats sitting in their mom's basement, they're like, I need this. And since all of this is just getting unraveled at once, the community is just backlashing back and forward at each other on whose side is right. The one side is right is where everything is in balance. But you know, that can never happen. Because, you know, it's like after Fortnite announced they're gonna ban people who uses specific devices to get an unfair advantage, a lot of shit has stirred up in the community. I hope if Bungie announces this, I want to see a lot of people say, I'm leaving the Destiny scene behind. Because you want to know what? Those people, they're scummy. They're people who basically abuse something that shouldn't be abused. These things are not meant to be like this, or they weren't when they were created. They were supposed to be if you wanted to use your controller, your PS4 controller in your Xbox. But of course, things don't play out as intended. Now suddenly these companies saw monetization in exploits, cheats that is not illegal in most games. But if Bungie ever thinks of extending their scene to a competitive one, at least in PvP wise, they have a big successor. I promise you that one. They just need to play their cards right. I'm not joking, like Destiny 2 PvP can get so much bigger with few steps. Sure, it sounds like a lot, but if you avoid all the... let's say you ignore the desync between Steam and console, if you ignore all the Zims, if you ignore all the unbalanced meta, if you ignore all shit like that, if you ignore network manipulation, if you ignore cheating, all of this is just one bubble they need to pop. And if they pop this, suddenly shit gets... Sure, a lot of people are going to be upset about it, but honestly, do we really care about them? Sure, everyone should be allowed to play fair, but if they don't want to, then what's the point? And it's like, the PvP scene is so close, so few steps. You just have to enable and disable some things. Like, for example, unbalanced PvP weapons, unbalanced exotics, unbalanced abilities. You know, imagine a playlist with only blue weapons, only a X amount of stats in your armor. Certain mods are only allowed, no exotics, certain abilities are disabled, certain aspects are illegal, certain things are not allowed. Sure, it ruins a lot of the you can do whatever you want part of the game, but it allows it to get so much more competitive. And why? Because you can't call shit bullshit as much as you can now. You get punched from 50 meters across the map. Of course you're gonna call it bullshit because it is bullshit. The desync in this game is obnoxiously stupid. And Bungie needs to fix this if they ever want something competitive. And you wanna know something else in a competitive scene game? It has a lot of money in it. And when I say a lot of money, I mean a lot of money. It draws attention, more players, tournaments. It draws everything that everyone wants. You know, the biggest streamer is Grenadier Jake. You wanna know what Grenadier Jake does? He does carries for a living. Now, I don't know if it's only because he's doing carries, he's so big, but people love to watch him play PvP. And you know what? Now, I don't know how much region-based matchmaking matters in my saying, because I normally play from Central Europe, let's just say like that, right? There's a lot of crutching, cheese, bullshit, you know, all that stuff. It's mostly just lorentz and arbalest, in my opinion, that's ruining the PvP scene for me. But I was playing with a guy from California. He was the matchmaking leader. So of course I would have slightly laggier games, but the difference in weapon usage is insane. I didn't match a single arbalest, a single lorentz. It was more fair play. Sure, the pulse rifle scene right now is ass. Everyone, I don't know who likes the pulse rifle meta, but good for you, I guess. But at least there was so much less bullshit. There were worse players, in my opinion, from what I'm used to. There were worse players overall. There were, I guess it's because it's a bigger population. But he was also playing 5 AM in the morning, so I mean, that has something to do with it as well, I guess. But it makes me wonder how much of my shit that's coming out of my mouth matters for the region based. Now, I don't know how many people more that plays on PC in the US compared to the EU, but there's a lot of Xbox and PlayStation players that I match with, and they always have the same issue. They're desynced, which means they lag for me, which means I get bullshitted on. At least from my POV. I was playing at around 1 AM. Trials, it's a Saturday night. And you wanna know who I matched? Frostbolt, Sweatstickle, and CB Gray. Now, you're wondering, why does this matter? Because none of them live fucking close to me. You wanna know who I played with? A guy from the UK and a guy from the Netherlands. Now, my question in the world, how the fuck do I match people like that? Now, the issue I have with that is, this is a common trend that I've noticed. I match a lot of US players. A lot of US based players. Which should not be a thing. I guess it's because Bungie don't know how to control their population because shitty metas. That's an issue in my opinion, because I don't want to get laggy matches because there's not enough players. And I'm not saying it's because of skill-based matchmaking, because it's not. You wanna know the issue? The trial system itself. Now I have videos on that, but I'll just say it real quick. It is a combination of card matchmaking. It's a combination of flawless pool. Actually, flawless pool wasn't even enabled, so there wasn't even flawless pool. It's just a combination of how the card system works. You should be able to match people closer to you, but enable slightly skill-based matchmaking. I don't mind that one, but not do it like it was on Widow's Court that 1 week. Let's just forget about that. If you don't agree with me, that's fine. If you agree with me, that's fine. But don't go in my comment section now and tell me some stupid rant about me as a person, and instead give me your insightful information about why you think I'm wrong. Instead of saying, oh, you're just crutching fucking weapons, you're on mouse and keyboard, you don't struggle with controller, and shit like that. I don't want to hear that. I just don't. That's the reality of it. But if you like this video, remember to like it. Remember to subscribe. Remember to leave anything you like. If you want me to review some gun, I can do that. Just remember to share your opinion in the world. It's important. It adds diversity. It adds more common sense into people. Because if you're stupid, we'll all know. If I'm stupid, we'll all know. I mean, I'm posting this on the internet, so I'm not doing too much great in my life. But remember this. I stream on Twitch sometimes. See ya.